This is Can We Just Talk, the podcast and YouTube series where it doesn't matter if you're living under a rock. We'll fill you in on the past week's biggest, weirdest, and most impactful stories, headlines, and developments in a nice casual conversation. Set your volume and settle in, because coming to you from a random basement in New Jersey, this is Can We Just Talk. Episode 26. Full crew is back in here. Despite some of the tensions from last week, we will try to roll on. We'll try to continue and forge through the difficulties because you just got to push forward sometimes.
Yeah, honestly, Troy, it says casual conversation in the opening. I think you might have to take back that claim after last time.
Yeah, well, all right, maybe we'll shoot for casual this time. We'll shoot for casual this time because last time it was anything but casual.
Well, I think we were casual. There were some other people that were not.
I'm not going to point fingers.
I'm
not going to point fingers, but the room was elevated. People elevated the situation. The main person, if you follow us on Instagram, you can see the compilation put together from this past week as we saw Chris reach new levels of anger for the first time. The perpetrator is not currently here. They are making cookies. They will be out in a couple minutes, but we'll try to get started here. Everyone's doing fine. Everyone's cooled off a little bit since then. Richie, how you doing?
I'd like to say I'm doing okay or fine, but I just never know. It really just depends. Like Chris, how are you doing? How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, Richie. So
okay, then I'm gonna say I'm doing pretty good as well. I'm gonna ditto that.
Good, Lucas, Jacob. Lucas has got his beer, so he's good. Jacob, everything's good.
I got a beer, so I'm good as well.
Perfect. Let's roll forward then. Let's get started. I'm doing fine. No one ever asked me, by the way, but I'm doing fine. Episode 26. No one's ever asked me. All right, let's get started. Let's get started here. We've got some big news coming out of Georgia. Some big news how it ties into the MLB. So this is a bit of a two-parter. First of all, Jacob, explain what is happening with some of the voting laws that are being passed in Georgia this past week.
Whew, it's a doozy. So I spent the last better part of an hour looking at all these different articles, all these different things about it, and there's a lot. So as I'm sure many people know already through social media, various other news forms, Georgia passed a new voting law, and it's got a lot of people up in arms, a lot of people claiming voter suppression, a lot of people claiming racism, and just a lot going on, to be honest. Like it definitely took me more than two articles to get to the bottom of all this, but I'll try to kind of explain some of the big parts of the bill and explain kind of why people are getting angry. So, okay, let's see here. So for starters, the bill added a photo ID requirement for absentee voting by mail. It cut down the amount of time that people have to request an absentee ballot. Part of that is due to changing the time when elections actually happen, so that'll obviously cut down the time there. It limits where drop boxes can be placed and some of their access. Another thing is that it also bans people from handing out food or water, but that is a little bit misleading, and we'll get into that in a second. And the last thing is it vicariously allows the state government to impact officials. So it's a couple complicated things here, but I'll try to get into some of the details and some of the explanations. So we'll start here with the big one. Why don't we start with the big one? So the big thing is can elected officials overturn elections? So basically what this bill did is it made elected officials, so, for Georgia, a majority Republican officials, they can more easily take control of the state elections board. And then it also added rules where the state election board can more easily take over municipal or counties, rather, in their election planning. So through those two things, it actually allows for, I believe, up to 4 different counties to have possibly politicized election leaders rather than the ones that they voted on or how their county does it. So that was a big one. I think a lot of people were frustrated about that because obviously coming off the news with Trump pressuring the Georgia, I believe it was the senator or the governor to find votes for him. A lot of people were nervous about, can the government actually overturn the results of the election? And this makes it a little bit easier, albeit it doesn't make it a given. Any comments on that one before I move on to kind of the next aspect here?
The overall trend of what is happening here is voter suppression. There's been a bunch of, smaller details that have been pushed in here that you'll get to in a second. But, the main theme that we're going to talk about here is the fact that there are new legislation, there's new laws and new rules being put into place that is just making it more difficult to vote. Meanwhile, the rest of the country is trying to make it easier to vote. Or not the rest of the country, but a lot of more progressive areas throughout the country are trying to make it easy as possible to vote. And yet we're looking at this one area. Is it a coincidence that they just had a crazy swing this past year? And now they're trying to see if maybe there's a way to ensure that those types of swings don't happen in upcoming elections. Definitely. I don't think it's a coincidence. I think there's a correlation there. But the overall theme is the fact that they're trying to increase voter suppression to increase the trend of what they've seen over the past century of voting.
So 2 things there. I'd say it's not all suppression. Yes, there are acts in here that are parts of it that make it harder to vote. One of the other things, which I'll talk about next, extending early voting does make it easier to vote in some cases. So it's not 100% suppression, but you're right. There are acts in here that make it harder to vote. I would also agree with you that it definitely has to do with the amount of attention that Georgia got over the past election between the presidential election and the Senate election, both of those aspects being highly televised, highly followed, a lot of scrutiny. And I think, what they're trying to do, or what they say they're trying to do, is to try to bring a new element of trust back into their elections after a lot of people were questioning their results. But yes, let me move on here to the next point, and that was one thing that they were discussing that many people may have thought would have been included was that Sunday voting would possibly be eliminated. However, that wasn't the case, and in fact, they included early voting and they added more required days. So I think initially they had to have 1 day of weekend voting was required for the county that's running the election. Now 2 Saturdays are required, and the counties can offer up to 2 Sundays as well. So that was one of the points there. I know another big point that a lot of people have heard about, and I know especially myself for following the story on Twitter, they talked about how it's now a felony or a federal offense to hand out snacks or water to voters. Misdemeanor. Correct. So that is true to some extent, but it is false to another extent. So it's true for you and I, and for political organizations, or anyone who's affiliated with anyone not affiliated to go and do that. But it is not illegal for the election board of the county to do that. So basically, I think this was aimed at the possibility of different groups, different activist groups, having the option to, go and try to affect the vote rather, in some way by trying to, convince voters kind of at the last minute. So I think that's at least the rhetoric that they're trying to give here.
What do they think is going to happen? They think someone's going to change their vote because they were given a cup of water and a cookie?
Well, That's how dumb they think their opposition is. That's how dumb they think their opposition is, and it's just sad. This is sorry. Go ahead, Jacob.
No, you guys bring up valid points, and I do want to stay on this topic for a little bit because I do think that there are points to both sides. I think that recency bias is a thing, and it can affect elections. I don't know. Like, I'd have to do more research to see if it would actually make a material difference here. But, there are human biases where, like, the last thing you saw is going to affect you more than something you saw a week ago. So I do think that there is some aspect of, campaigning that can occur right before people cast their votes. And I would say that, this isn't the worst thing in the world, but that also predicates on the fact that the election board in the county are doing things like passing out water, passing out food, especially when lines get super long.
Lucas, did you put your hand up for a second?
Yeah. So basically, I think a good possible solution would to have a party in place that is not affiliated with either side, that distributes water and snacks, that is not sponsored by any side. And that way the needs are met, and then no one is swayed.
And Jacob, it sounds like that's allowed, right? It's like the poll takers, they're allowed to do that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, the county's election board. So to Lucas's point, those tend to be either bipartisan or nonpartisan groups that, work the election at like a logistical level for these different counties. So they are still allowed to give out water and snacks, but it's just not individuals or other non-affiliated groups.
What if the cops get to like hand out the waters while they're patrolling there, making sure everybody's safe, and if they see anyone else handing out waters, don't be on my turf. Don't give them a misdemeanor.
There's so many other good things to be doing as a cop.
Well, they're there to watch. There's always cops there when it's gatherings of people like that. They have to be there. So
yeah,
the poll takers that are allowed to technically give out this. These are the bipartisan parties involved in this situation. Yet in 2020, the Republican Party was trying to act like the poll takers and the poll workers were not bipartisan. They were secretly Democratic moles. So they might have a problem with these people handing out drinks and water because they were pretending like all the poll workers were secretly being employed by the Democratic side and rigging the election. So it's almost impossible to find someone and be like, for everyone to agree that they are completely bipartisan.
There's
not
spies
related.
on both sides, always. In every war and every side, every game. There's always
But
spies.
at the end of the day, these are being a poll worker is not like a glamorous job. These people aren't going out there. It's awful. It's
a part of the game.
Everyone is watching you. They're saying, "Why is this taking so long?" You're never going to go fast enough for anybody. So these people are being criticized in 2020. I'd love to see how many people don't sign up to do it again in 2024 because I'd have a hard time just believing that everyone's going to sign up again to do it. But these people aren't going there to rig the election. They're not going there to hand out water to one side to convince them to switch their vote to another side.
You don't know them. You don't know.
All right, the vast majority isn't. The majority isn't.
It's a bold statement, Cotton.
I can back it up.
Troy, and I think that's kind of why people were so scared about that first point. The possibility to overturn elections, the possibility for the state government to now come in and basically absolutely dominate elections in up to 4 counties by, basically getting rid of whatever election committee was there, installing their own people at their own will. And I think that you speak to it perfectly where you say people are worried that there's going to be partisan effect at the county level, at the election level.
Chris.
Yes.
I just want to get in real quick.
No, it's Chris.
Here's the thing that I think we haven't really touched on yet. Why are they so focused on people giving voters waiting in line water? It's because there are so few voting machines in certain neighborhoods that tend to vote a certain way that, people are in line, and not just in Georgia, in a lot of other states, for hours and hours on end. And, they get thirsty, they get hungry.
Yeah,
so like
the hand.
What they really want is the whole point of narrowing the places they can vote in these neighborhoods is for people to say, screw this, I'm going home, I'm not voting.
Right.
And if people are giving them basic supplies, that doesn't really
help
make it effective in their goals. So
it's sleight of hand, I think, Chris.
It doesn't make sense if the system is doing something like this and making what is one of our most valued freedoms is the freedom and the right to vote. That is something that people on this planet do not have, and that's something that we need to hold sacred in a way. And whether it doesn't matter who you vote for, but you should have the ability and the freedom and the right to vote. And if our system is doing anything but making it more accessible, that's a disservice to what America was founded on. And it shouldn't matter if you're in charge of voting and accessibility. That's one of the freedoms and the liberties that we have here that we need to protect, and we need to make, because once we start going further and further down this path, then we're sliding away from democracy. And I'm not trying to be like a conspiracy theorist, but there's little things that happen. Distrust in the media. What have we had for the last 4 years? We've had elected officials trying to convince people to not trust the media. That's the first step to propaganda. What's going on here? Making it harder to vote. That in a time where I can go online and because I have perfect credit, I can get a $2 million mortgage on a Rocket Mortgage attached to my name. You're telling me I can't vote on the election online somehow? I can give all my information to get money, to get a job, to do this, to do that. You can do anything you want online except vote. And if we're not making it easier and more accessible and, of course, safer, like, are you telling me of protecting the integrity of a vote is harder than protecting constituent information or taxpayers' information? Because we're doing that now already. Those transactions are happening. So what are we doing here? It's sickening.
It's such a hot topic that people really want to take control over it. It's just paranoia. Yeah. You can't win. It's a lose-lose. Whether you protect it more or you don't. So you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Perfect credit score is a weird flex, but
999. No, I don't have a perfect credit score. I live in you know the town I live in.
Speaking of people with a perfect credit score, Richie, your thoughts on this?
I just wanted to know if the PowerPoint was going to be posted so I could review the slides later, or if I should be writing all this down now, Jacob.
You should have been writing.
I don't know what your thoughts are, because I haven't been writing.
Don't worry. The class will be recorded and posted on.
Okay,
it's on Twitch. Yeah. It's on Twitch.
Have you never watched those?
So I'm not going to take notes. I'll never watch that recording.
So there's no need to be here right now, like live?
Have it'll be on Twitch. Ever watched a recorded? So like for me at work, it's like, oh, this webinar will be recorded. I haven't.
100% of my classes this semester are pre-recorded, so I have to. There's no option.
Pre-recorded is different.
Those are the worst.
Well, pre-recorded classes, you had to show up. Didn't matter what you wore, but you had to be there.
Yeah. Well, we have a global health crisis, so it's a little different for us.
There's something going on outside.
I heard. Yeah. Richie told me something about it earlier this morning. Chris, you wanted to say something before we move on, and I know you have the next half of this story.
Ooh, half.
Oh, yeah. I was just going to say it was, it's. If you took like a map of all the neighborhoods in Georgia and how they voted in the last election, and you saw like where it was easy to vote and where it wasn't easy to vote, like there'd be a pretty clear correlation. So I think, anyone who's saying, and also the voter ID part of this, it's worth noting that the IDs that they accept are IDs that are disproportionately harder to access if you are poor, and, low income is correlated with different races. And that's obviously the primary concern. And then, it's interesting that none of these voter ID laws, and, sadly, Georgia is nowhere near the only one to do something like this.
It's just getting a lot of attention because of the last
election,
and
also,
right?
and you'll notice that like none of those bills say, oh, we're going to require an ID to vote, and we're also going to send an ID to every eligible voter.
Exactly.
That doesn't have one. You'll notice that's never there.
Never will be.
Coincidentally.
So, Chris, fill us in on what is happening now with this developing story and how it's related to some stuff going on with Major League Baseball. I know there was a major shift of events and huge planning that came to be because of this recent passing of new legislation.
Yeah, so basically, the MLB All-Star Game was awarded to the Atlanta Braves in their new ballpark for this year. And big deal. You have fans coming in from all over the country, and it's supposed to be by the summer when you're supposed to have more fans, and things are hopefully more normal. And basically, long story short, Major League Baseball announced today, Commissioner Rob Manfred announced that they were just going to pull the entire game from Atlanta. They haven't announced a new site yet, and now the game's on July 13th, so they've got like 3 months to figure out where they're going to play the All-Star game. And Commissioner Rob Manfred said he spoke with the Major League Baseball Players Association about it, took a couple measures and said, quote, "I have decided the best way to demonstrate our values as a sport is by relocating this year's All-Star Game and MLB draft. Major League Baseball fundamentally supports voting rights for all Americans." And the thing just went on me. But basically, yeah, he gave out a statement saying he supported the voting rights for all Americans, condemned the bill, and that's basically what is happening. So the Major League Baseball All-Star Game, which certain people, including but not limited to David Sampson on today's episode of the Le Batard Show, said that there was no way that they were going to move it. I honestly, if you had asked me 12 hours ago if they were going to move it, I would have said no way. But Major League Baseball came out strong, took away the All-Star Game, and that's basically what happened because of this law. So want to get your guys' thoughts on that aspect of it, of the response. Want to hear what you guys think.
I'm with you, Chris. I'm absolutely shocked how quickly they moved on this, to be honest. Major League Baseball hasn't been, if you told me the NBA, I would have believed you much better than the MLB to do this, something so quick. Not that they wouldn't have done this. It was just the fact that they did it immediately. And to be honest, I didn't even connect the dots since Major League Baseball just started. Since opening day was yesterday, and I just saw the All-Star Game patch on the Braves sleeve yesterday. I didn't even realize it was in Atlanta until yesterday. And same day, pretty much hours later, they had moved the All-Star Game completely. Didn't even know that was going to be taking place there. They moved really quick, faster than the Major League Baseball has done in the past. I'm shocked.
It's incredibly surprising because if you look at the major sports, baseball is, I would say, fighting with hockey for second to last most conservative major sport, right? So NASCAR, without a doubt, is going to be most conservative. They've done great things, but their fan base is a very, conservative fan base. Baseball is on their way there. Baseball
statement as well.
What?
What's with these bold statements?
What would you say is the most conservative sport?
I don't even know why we're looking at it like that.
I'm giving my reaction. I'm giving my reaction. It's surprising that baseball did this because baseball has been behind on everything. And that's why baseball is failing. Like, you can only watch baseball if you have cable subscriptions now. Until like 2 years ago, they didn't even embrace young players having fun. They were like, no, play the game the right way, and I'm going to throw the ball at you if you pimp out a home run or celebrate too much. So that's what baseball has been. I'll take some cookies, Rich.
To be fair, yeah. Austin, your point, you're correct. Major League Baseball, I mean, honestly, the only league that has been progressive really has been the NBA. The NFL is pretending like they're progressive, but they're really not. They're putting on a facade of being progressive, but at the end of the day, they're not. It's the same league that kept Cal and Kaepernick out of the league for years. So
yeah, and then settled out of court.
Yeah, so they're trying to appear that they are. But at the end of the day, all these leagues are owned by billionaire white men. The vast majority are owned by billionaire white men. Sure, there's a few minority owners in America, but the vast majority are billionaire white men. So again, Major League Baseball is like a lot of old money. That is shocking. That is wealth of all leagues, really. NFL, yes, different, but Major League Baseball is not the one I would have expected to move so quickly. They are hesitant to any change, regardless of whether it has to do with quality of product, quality of brand.
They're still using wooden bats.
They wear belts on their uniform.
That's for a purpose. They're not doing that because they don't believe in metal bats.
Wooden bats. Nobody better material there are.
Well, they're doing that.
Someone would die.
They're doing it because someone would get injured. They would die.
If Aaron Judge hit a line drive with a composite bat and he hit
I'd go to a baseball game.
I'd be like a Deadpool movie. Like their head would
they should just wear armor. like padding, like football,
like cricket.
Make it a contact sport. Let's stop, beating around the bush and make it exciting. Come on.
Don't they do that for the home run derby when it's like famous people or whatever?
Yeah, but
they give them medal bats and stuff.
Oh, they fight.
Well, famous people can't hit the ball as far as most major league players, so they need college baseball. It's medal bats too. It's just once you get to that high level, because everyone in the MLB would be hitting a home run on every normal pop fly if they were using a metal bat,
and that'd be so much fun.
That'd be awesome.
No, baseball has a problem right now.
Baseball games start going to like 89, 86.
Well, Troy actually has a good point. Baseball does have a problem.
Baseball is a major problem because there's too many home runs. There's not enough.
It's called the Yankees bullpen. That's the problem.
It's either you strike out or you hit a home run. Baseball is trying to figure out how to get less home runs. They're trying to keep it.
So they make the fields bigger.
And I'm not entirely
easier said than done. They can't just change all the 30 stadiums around the country. And just
I guess they don't want to survive then.
Lucas is speaking facts.
I mean, yeah.
Damn.
I don't know how.
I knew Lucas liked baseball a lot, but I mean,
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, I don't know how Major League Baseball is supposed to get younger fans with less scoring, but that's kind of their whole.
No, hold on, Chris. It isn't less scoring. It's not less scoring.
I can't hear you over the chewing on the mic on a podcast. Is that how you're trying to
professionalism?
It's not less scoring, okay? Because home runs. More home runs doesn't necessarily mean more scoring because there's less guys on base to get hit in. So the fact is, yes, we're seeing record amounts of home runs every year, but that doesn't mean we're seeing record amounts of scoring each year. There's no one on base for a lot of these home runs or a lot of solo shots because the two guys in front of him are getting struck out. So then there's two outs. Aaron Judge hits a solo homer, and then you only get one run.
Hold on. Let's just say something here, and Chris, I hope you'll take my back on this one. What's up with these stupid American fans that need so much scoring to keep them entertained? Honestly,
I'm sorry that you enjoy watching mediocrity.
Whoa,
I'm sorry.
Whoa.
That a 0-0 game leaves you satisfied.
That's probably the most exciting game.
You watched nothing happen. If you want to watch nothing happen, you can go to Warren County, New Jersey, and do that for free.
Hold on. Chris and Jacob, we gave you a soccer podcast so you don't talk about that stupid ass sport on this. We are not talking about soccer. All right?
Okay. I'll take it in a different direction.
Wait a second. You guys got a soccer podcast?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would love to be a guest on the soccer podcast.
Do you watch soccer?
I like soccer.
Okay.
Come on next week.
We're not talking about soccer.
You and I can make a podcast.
Figure out off the air.
Got my
Chris,
number, Jacob.
why do you do this to me every week?
I didn't do it.
You talk about soccer
every week. Chris, can I say something to get it back on track?
Yes.
It's really called football, whatever.
So it's a ballsy move, and I'm gonna throw it back to you. And I think there's only one other league. There's only one other organization that would have done it this well, and that's Rutgers University. If Rutgers University had the opportunity to take away an all-star game, they would have done it perfectly. Chris, are you still mad at me from last week?
Yes, but that's not the point here. I think I'm surprised by, as you mentioned, Austin, it's not really the most socially involved league out there.
No.
Like, I expected Major League Baseball to put out some vanilla PR statement. They got vetted by 50 lawyers where they basically talk about how awful it is that they're doing this. And, oh, by the way, tickets for the All-Star game in Atlanta are now on sale. That's how I honestly expected them to handle this. So the fact that, they actually took some bold action, this worked in North Carolina when they had that anti-trans law and it got repealed.
Yes, that's what I was about to say.
So this kind of thing can have an impact.
And if there wants to be, so sports is obviously doing something. You know who films a lot of their movies in Atlanta is Disney. A lot of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is filmed in either, I think it's like Toronto or somewhere in Canada and Georgia. In Georgia, there's a ton of filming that happens in Georgia. And I agree with Harry Browns. Jacob, if you want to watch 90 minutes of nothing, just watch your father figure from Polar Music eat cookies on this podcast. Like, that's the same as watching a soccer game that ends 0-0.
Austin, I can't believe you haven't brought this up before yet. Right when this article was out, right when Chris said this, I can't believe you didn't say this, but you've opened the door for me, and now I'm gonna try to get into the minds of the MLB and try to take them down. Because, let's think about this from the MLB's perspective. do we think that they made this change because they disagree with the voting laws in Georgia? Or do we think that they made this change because enough people were yelling about it?
Yeah.
And
money talks,
I'm
Jacob.
definitely on the latter side, but I just don't know if that's better or worse.
Well,
I haven't decided yet.
Hold on, because I don't think it was a lot of people yelling, because they honestly did it before a lot of people had the chance to yell. I think they wanted to get out in front of it before people started yelling.
Because what was going to happen?
There wasn't enough backlash. Like, honestly, this happened so quick. I didn't even have a chance to understand what was happening. I think, yes, there was some talking, there was some dispute, but the vast majority of fans didn't even realize what was happening until the MLB announced today that they were moving it.
Okay, baseball fans maybe, but I think a lot of the nation knew about it immediately. It went viral almost immediately because one of the people in the Georgia legislature got arrested while the bill was being signed. So it went pretty
Jacob,
quick.
the MLB only cares about the fans. They don't care about – it's about money to them. This is all about money. They don't care about someone who doesn't watch the league. They don't care at all. It doesn't affect them.
But they also care. They also care about young fans, because their fans are the oldest in the country and they're dying at an alarming rate because of
average
COVID.
age is 64.
That's not old. If you're 64, you're not old. But I'm just saying in relation to
the average age of an
leagues,
NBA fan is 40.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. In relation to other leagues, their fans are older. So they know they need to start filling that pipeline from a different area. They don't need to go win. Like, if you're 64 years old, you either like baseball or you don't. Like, if you're a kid, this is where you're forming all of your fandoms. And like, my fandoms have changed over the years. I used to be baseball. I would watch every Yankee game, but this year I'm not even paying for cable. And it's like, because the league it's a long season. I know if I miss one game, it doesn't mean anything if I miss one game. And I can watch the key games on ESPN. And Jacob, I agree with you. I don't know if it's a yes or no, like black or white, but in the way that our economy is set up, and especially MLB being a business, money and growth opportunity is factored into every decision. You know,
that's a weird flex.
Not paying for cable. End of the day, it could also be like a win-win, because there are many owners. So yes, the majority may not really care about how this affects voters, but there could be a few owners that this was very important to them. So at the end of the day, this is kind of a win-win. They get out in front of it before people start getting angry with them. And also, a few of these owners, I can't say how many, I can't say if not every owner agrees with it. End of the day, though, they're appeasing to some of those owners who may say this is an issue and we don't want to have anything to do with Atlanta. Now, does it suck for the Atlanta Braves owner who just lost out on this? Because this is a lot of money that comes into the team.
Boo-hoo.
Well, they put out a statement basically criticizing Major League Baseball for it.
Who cares?
The Braves did?
The Braves, yep. I'm going to pull it up here. Basically, they put it on their Twitter like about a half hour or so after the initial statement came on.
You know what this guy can do with that time in July that he doesn't have any games at his stadium? He can figure out a new name for his team that's not based off of Native Americans. Go figure that out.
They still do the tomahawk chop too. That's worth pointing out.
They do.
I got something. Baseball wants to, make a comeback that they need so desperately. It's time to bite the bullet. and hear me out. Don't interrupt. There needs to be a cap on how much a baseball player can make. Now, if they stop paying their players millions and millions of dollars, maybe the seats to go see the players will be less money. And then, maybe the hot dogs won't cost $18 a pop. And if the baseball players don't like it, okay, they can go get real jobs. And then they're going to think, do I want to get this real job, or do I want to play baseball for a capped salary?
So
welcome to the real world.
Lucas, no freedom to do what you want.
Hold on. I want to approach this from a business perspective. There's a way around it, because the salaries of these players for a lot of these major teams, and I will say the only teams we're really familiar with happen to be the Yankees, which are on the higher end of prices for tickets. But a lot of the teams around the country, you can get $8 tickets for still. So that's
really?
They're pretty cheap.
We're just spoiled with Yankee tickets.
Yankees.
Well, we're at a disadvantage.
Doesn't help. But I could still buy a Yankees ticket for $20. The expensive part of it is getting to the city and paying for parking. That's the expensive part. But that's owned by private business.
Could attack other players, and that way, like, even if you bought the best players, like another player takes another player out, is what it is. That way, the Yankees have a weak point.
Lucas, I hear you on the salary cap. There's definitely like competitive reasonings behind putting a salary cap on there. But in all seriousness, do you actually think that if these owners were paying the players less and making the same amount of money, they would use that money to make it better for the fans? No, they would pocket it in their pocket.
Then brings up the question: does baseball deserve to live on?
Well, that's a capitalist system. I mean, then you can ask this capitalism.
The problem is
they got a hard choice to make here.
A lot of these owners, they don't care about the game. They care about the business. This is a business to them for a lot of these owners.
Baseball makes money
like a business. If it's treated like a business, it's going to die like a business.
The ticket sales make up a fraction of the revenue for baseball. Most of their money comes through the cable deals, the revenue sharing, the apparel, like
advertising,
name branding. Their money from ticket sales is like, that's like in the 1930s. Like, we're giving out free hot dogs to come to the stadium. Wow, like that's what ticket sales were.
I would go.
I mean, I would too. I love hot dogs.
I want to hear Chris. I want to hear the Braves' response.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I've got the statement up here. It says, quote, "This was neither our decision nor our recommendation, and we are saddened that fans will not be able to see this event in our city. The Braves organization will continue to stress the importance of equal voting opportunities, and we had hoped our city could use this event as a platform to enhance the discussion. Our city has always been known as a uniter in divided times, and we will miss the opportunity to address issues that are important to our community." So
they
basically,
moved the stadium out of Atlanta. You can't say that the city has been a uniter when you moved your stadium out of Atlanta.
They also said our city. Our city is going to be hurt by this decision when they play
city?
in Cobb County, the suburbs.
It's not going to be.
In the middle.
I mean, I'm kind of repulsed by the fact that they're using to say, oh, what about the fans? They're going to get hurt. Like, well, what about the voters that can't vote? Like, what about them? Yeah.
Chris, if anyone else knows this, is the MLB, Richie, you probably know this. Is the MLB All-Star Game similar to the Olympics? Is it a bidding thing or not? That's not the Olympics.
It's awarded. It's awarded. It's a rotation, and if you get a new stadium, you're guaranteed within like 5 or 10 years.
And guess what? That sucks for you, Atlanta, but you didn't pay a dime, so you don't deserve anything anyway.
No.
And too bad. Get over. I thought for some reason I was thinking along the lines like they bidded and spent a lot of money on this. If that's the case, then that's a legal issue, but they didn't spend a dime, so get over it. Big time.
Yeah. Something else the Atlanta Braves did that was stupid, not that it necessarily has anything to do with this, is, they had a perfectly fine ballpark in Turner Field, and it was only like 20 years old, and they were like, well, we got to build a new one out in the suburbs.
Yep.
So
if they cared about the city of Atlanta, why'd they move out to Cobb County? You know who didn't move away from the city? The New York motherfucking Yankees, people. The best baseball team in the whole world.
So, want to slide away? We'll move on to our next topic of discussion. This was, I think, if you're on TikTok, if you're on Twitter, if you're on Instagram, this is probably the biggest story of the week. And Richie, I'm glad to have someone from Polar Music on this discussion because it's a very music focused topic. Lil Nas X put out a new music video with his new song. Richie, what's the name of the song, by the way?
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
You're from Polar Music.
Our music expert doesn't even know the name of the song.
I'm actually not Richie. I'm filling in for Richie today. I'm surprised nobody noticed. I guess I'm.
Oh, it's because you don't have any facial hair. That's how we're supposed to tell.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
Are people actually offended by this music video?
Well, I'm going to get into it.
Yes, they are.
So it's
okay.
The new song is "Call Me by Your Name." It's depicting Lil Nas X. At one point this is where it breaks down, where people get really offended. At one point, he's ascending into heaven, and very dramatically, the song takes a turn, and he decides to go down a very large stripper pole into hell, where he proceeds to do some things with the devil, Satan himself.
Okay, that's what I want to talk about.
They're both men in this case, and there's some people who are offended.
What I want to talk about.
Yeah,
that's what I want to talk about.
Well, hold on. I want to just provide the full picture so that we can get into it. There are people offended by the fact that Lil Nas X is a man, and Satan is being portrayed as a man, and Lil Nas X is doing things sexually with Satan. So again, people are offended.
Let me talk. I want to talk about this. Are people offended by this? Have they not seen South Park? Because I'm pretty sure South Park had the devil with a relationship with Saddam Hussein for like several episodes. This is a music video. So this is like a fraction of moment in time. Yet South Park had a relationship with a terrorist person with the devil, which they were both male, but people are upset about this. What generation is actually upset? I don't believe that people are actually upset about this. I have yet to meet someone who's actually upset.
And that's good that you haven't met. That means you're not going out to meet a lot of people, especially during
Do they know
times.
there's other things out there like this?
Lucas, I think the difference is that South Park is not a kid show, and Lil Nas X is not a kid rapper. But Old Town Road was beloved by kids, young kids. There's videos of him performing at schools. Like his audience, he's not intended. Even Old Town Road was talking about cheating on girls and drinking lean and stuff like that. Kids loved his music. So there's parents that didn't do their research and they're like, oh, my kids love Lil Nas X and he sings about riding horses. And then they're like, whoa, what is this guy doing on the devil? And why am I sweating and enjoying it? This must be really bad.
Welcome
and
to
that's
America,
what's happening.
baby.
My kid can't watch this.
People have gotten upset though at Lil Nas X for posting videos of himself and going on Instagram Live just wearing like a cowboy hat and a pink like vest, like cowboy kind of thing they would wear with like tassels on it. And they're saying like he's either being homophobic or like trying to like do something like that. And he's just wearing a pink shirt. People are going to get mad over everything. And I think the generation here that is getting very upset about all this is the Karens and the Rons out there in the world, you know, that
AC/DC, Highway to Hell. They watch Queen.
And that was always hated. That was always hated. That's why there's a parental warning on this stuff has always people hated Elvis. They're like, don't show his hips shaking. That's the devil. Like people have been hating on new things forever. That's what humans do.
Yeah, and it's it's what humans do. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, I'm surprised it's even like a topic on such a huge podcast right now. Can we just talk? Like, people are offended by things like this, especially in music, all the time.
All right,
Tyler, who gets offended?
Two things here. So first of all, this is like the same type of thing that was happening when people were first offended that they were teaching evolution in school. And then it progressed to rock and roll was offensive, and it's influencing our children to go to the satanic music. It's just a new adaptation. It's the fact that this form of art, which is music, it's different art nonetheless, but art progresses, art changes, is showing someone do things that are technically against the beliefs of people who think people who aren't straight don't get into heaven, which is the beliefs that are some of these people may have. And then on top of that, he's going down and kind of like rubbing their face in it by becoming Satan. And because watch the video if you don't know what I'm talking about. But I want to get to the main story here because this isn't the main story.
This isn't the main story?
It is, but it's part of it. The main story is the fact that there are some shoe sellers who, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the shoe game, but a lot of people like make custom shoes. So they're sneakerheads. And for this Lil Nas X music video, this boutique made 666 versions of this new Lil Nas shoe. Now, they sold out all of them for a lot of money, like $1,000 a pair, like a lot of money. They sold out a lot of these shoes, right? And then Fox News goes on saying Nike is associating themselves with the devil, and they're in bed with the devil, and they're endorsing this video. And Tucker Carlson is going crazy on Fox News because he has room to dig into Nike, the company that partnered with Colin Kaepernick that he hates so much because he takes a knee for racial equality. But so it's a new lane for him to go into. And now Nike's getting pissed off because they're like, we didn't ask for any of this PR. Now this is bad because there's a lot of people in middle America who are really strong with the Bible and are going to read this on Facebook and be like, I'm never going to buy Nike again. But at the end of the day, Nike didn't release these shoes. It was this one boutique that uses Nikes and makes their own customs. So now Nike's pissed at Lil Nas because Fox News is pissed at Nike, and it's just like a whole shit show. And Lil Nas is just sitting there collecting a lot of money because he has these custom shoes. So it's a crazy story.
Can I say something? It's really sad that there are a group of people out here that are more angry with Nike for an association in a video that depicts the devil as, wait for it, according to their beliefs, bad. I'm sorry. Did you want him to portray the devil as good? I don't know. Who cares about how the devil is portrayed? But they care more about this than Nike using sweatshops. So like you care more about the portrayal of a devil, a figure, whether you believe or not. That is your choice in this country to believe yes or no, but you care more about a portrayal in a music video for a rapper that I'm guessing you probably don't like, and you're getting mad at Nike for that, but you're not going to get mad and spark outrage for sweatshops. Like what are we doing? What are we doing?
The ludicrous part of it is, again, Nike didn't do any of this. Like, someone just took Nike shoes and made a new product out of them, which I'm not sure the legality is, but now they're being sued and they can't sell anymore, although they already sold all out of these. But the fact that I'm I'm not surprised by it, because it's not surprising at all. But Fox didn't do any research on this, and they made it like the main story of their Fox Nightly News, saying that Fox. Nike is endorsing the devil by making these shoes. But it takes like 2 seconds to research the fact that Nike didn't make these shoes.
Well, Troy, you're kind of giving them too much credit to assume that they researched this story in good faith.
It takes a Google search. That's all it takes.
No. You don't understand. Like, the story, Little Nas X shoes had nothing to do with Nike, does not drive eyeballs and clicks and views to Fox News' content. Fox News is all in the outrage business of riling up people who get offended by stuff like Little Nas X, people who,
storm the Capitol. And,
yes, that's a part of the demographic.
Can I say, I just want to say that this is absolutely the best thing that could ever happen for Lil Nas X. I'm so happy for the dude. He's making bank off of this. He's getting publicity out the ass. It's awesome. Good for this dude. I'm happy he's making money. I hope all this publicity keeps coming on, because he made a music video and it could have just went under the radar, and it didn't. So good for this guy, man. This is awesome. This is the best case scenario for him. He is so happy. He's happy.
Nike's not happy about it at all.
Who cares? I agree with Nike sucks,
I know Nike's not the cleanest company, but
whatever. It's a company. I'm talking about a person, Troy. We're talking about people, not companies. Good for Lil Nas X. Who gives a shit about that company?
Yeah, and he didn't just he didn't just ride the pole down. Like, this man wasn't like fire hydrant. Like, he wasn't just holding onto the pole and sliding down. I mean, he was moving. I mean,
it's a work of art.
Trained for months to be able to do that.
Picture for a second, like the chief strategy officer for Nike. He wakes up one morning and his company is in the headlines and is being torn apart by Fox News. And he's like, who made a video about us, and what does this have to do anything with us?
Who
and now
cares?
people are just no. It's kind of funny. That's what I'm saying. It's like funny that they had nothing to do with this.
You poor rich executive, you having a tough day at work today.
They had nothing to do with it at all. Someone just made like a shoe. Shoes illegal.
Lucas has a good point. Like, why do we care about that?
Why for my tears in the hundreds?
Nike will be fine. No one will lose
you'll be all right, Nike. Go
ahead, Troy. Go ahead.
Let's boycott Nike. Down with Nike.
You can do whatever you want, but just like, I don't want to hear about Nike being, who gives a shit?
It's
funny.
For
Lil Nas.
Yeah, Troy, you are out of line.
Yeah, you're out of line.
Troy down in the basement.
Troy's defending companies, talking about Fox News. Like, is this?
No, he's trying to say like
podcast to 6 white males is what we.
Well, I don't think Troy's defending Fox News.
Let me finish. It's funny because the incompetence of Fox News and their ability, because they just want to drive attention, is like is inadvertently taking down another company for something that they had nothing to do with. And it's just like this part of the media is dragging one company that like had no idea that this video was even probably on the internet yet. You think that CEO had any idea who Lil Nas X was in the first place?
Yes.
Now his video is out there, and 48 hours later, his company that had no plans of making any type of shoe. He's probably like, what are you talking about? What boutique is selling Nikes and making their own Nikes? And now they're just being dragged through the weeds. It's kind of hilarious.
I don't know. You got a sick sense of humor. Whatever.
Well, I'm just going to say,
why do you pro company so much? Like, what is
he's saying the same thing as you. He's like, who cares?
He's saying it differently, so I don't like him.
Damn, Epic.
When are we changing the name of this podcast to Six White
Lucas,
Males?
is this where you wanted me to pretend to throw you off the show?
Yes, I've been waiting. What the hell, dude?
I was going to make an example out of Lucas this week if Austin acted up again, saying I'm not afraid to throw one of my brothers off the show.
Oh, I'm sorry that I spoke out against the almighty Rutgers University.
You should have texted me.
Don't say anything bad about Rutgers.
We still have another episode. We still have another topic.
It's pretty obvious, Troy.
It's not.
How about everybody just calm down for a second here? Everybody just calm down. And I don't want to get back to the story here. And I want to talk about, I think it's actually pretty interesting that we have these two topics on the same episode. So if you're watching us on the video, you saw me cranking up the internet outrage machine. And that's just what happens on the internet. People go on the internet and get mad. And I do think it's interesting that we had these two stories back to back, because you could argue, I mean, if you're not thinking about values, if you're thinking the companies act without regard to value, mostly focused on the people, we're commending the MLB for listening to the people's outrage on voter suppression. We're also kind of going at Nike for listening to the people's outrage on, regarding these shoes, regarding Lil Nas X. And I know that the values are different. And I think that's why we have to look a little bit past that in our judgment.
Well, here's an interesting question. What did Fox News cover more? These third-party sneakers that riles up the outrage machine, or the very real voter suppression law that got passed in Georgia?
It's sleight of hand. It's all it is. It's sleight of hand. Look at Lil Nas. Look what he's doing with the devil. And then they're going to pass all this shady shit about, voter suppression, dude. It's sleight of hand. It's the oldest trick in the book. We're just all idiots.
Well, notice that, like, you go to, like, NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt. He's not talking about the Lil Nas video. He's talking about the voter suppression. While Fox News over there is just like, this guy is sliding down a pole straight into the devil's lap. But that's just the difference between where you get your news from. I guess it's up to
you to America, baby.
It's up to you to find the correct news source. So we'll pause for a second, and it's time to get to our beloved segment in just a few seconds here. We'll hand it.
Wait, say it slower.
Hold on. We'll hand it over to Richie Welbrock in just 1 second here.
Come on, Troy. Let's go. I gotta play Warzone.
For local notes with Richie Welbrock.
What am I supposed to say, Troy?
All right, Richie, what do you got for us?
You're really putting me on the spot here. Every week. You think about it every week. Let's see. I backed into a guardrail with my car, but it didn't do anything. I kind of just was backing up, minding my own business, kind of like this, and I just hit it, and I was kind of it was at that point in time, where you're turning and you're like, I'm not gonna make it, and you know how most people are like, okay, let me correct myself. I was just like, but what if I did make it? And I just kept going, and I hit it. So I get out of the car and I go look at it, perfectly fine. And I can't tell if it's the sun damage or the fact that one of the other hosts of Polar Music recently ripped off, well, not really recently, a while ago, ripped off the entire rear bumper of my car in the past, but you can't even tell. You really can't. So I'm really proud.
It's the right amount of shitty, that car.
What's that?
It's just the right amount of shitty.
It really is. It's looks like garbage. You get inside,
middle ground.
0 to 60, 2.9. I'm gone. All right, every time. On sub 3 seconds, 0 to 60. I'll dust anybody in the chat.
Sub 30 seconds.
Where did you hit a guardrail backing up? Were you backing up on the highway or something?
Where is this guardrail?
It's on Cokesbury Road. I was backing out of a driveway. I was recently house sitting for a haunted house. I actually, it wasn't very fun. I was just trying to get out, and there's like a guardrail because there's like a river right there, and I was like,
"Oh, let me see if I can make it."
Yeah,
let me not be cautious.
You get
when
it.
I'm
You
right
get
near
it.
a
You
river.
get it. Every now and again.
Now why I'm driving Richie back tonight.
Yeah, and that was when there was like light, so I wouldn't want to see what would happen.
I don't remember saying there was light, actually.
It was probably on the way over here.
No, but there was light.
Yeah, there was light. Okay.
I didn't want to hit the garbage cans.
Well, we'll wrap it there as Richie gets into some grand auto destruction. Can we just talk episode 26 in the books? Appreciate everyone coming out, checking us out on Twitch. We'll get to some more exciting stuff next week. We'll have to see what the world has in store for us. We got some more exciting content coming out over the next week. Deep Fried Medicine, Polar Music. Maybe that host actually knows the name of the most popular song on the internet right now. Who knows? We'll see. Also, Polar FC coming out. What, Lucas?
Happy Shotgun Friday, everybody.
What is it?
Shotgun Friday.
Shotgun Friday.
Yeah, sponsored by Shotgun Friday.
Yeah,
it's also Good Friday.
11.
It's Good Friday.
It's also Good Friday. So episode 26 in the books. Like I said, more content coming out soon.
Good Friday.
And make sure to keep it locked here. Like I said, I don't think I got to mention it, but we got Polar FC coming out. We've got a brand new show coming on Twitch, so that'll be on Wednesday nights. Again,
bye, Chris.
Episode 26. Appreciate everyone for coming in and listening. This has been Can We Just Talk?
Bye.
We agree, Epic Swag.
Bye, Chris.
I agree, Emez.
Yeah.
Dump truck.